Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today's the third in a series of collaboration videos that we're doing. Challenges among 4 artists that we take a painting each month and all try to paint the same thing and let you see each other's videos and see how you like it. Today's video is one that I was tasked with finding an image. So I was, since I live in Florida now, we were in St. Augustine, Florida a few weeks ago, and St. Augustine is one of the oldest cities in the United States. I think they claim to be the oldest city, but they also have the oldest wooden schoolhouse in the United States. So they have built up an entire street around where this original schoolhouse stood, and it's quite an attraction for visitors and tourists. And so I took some photos, 3 or 4 photos, maybe 5 photos, and sent it to each of the collaborators. And they've all had a chance to decide what composition they want to make out of it and how they want to paint it. So be sure that after you watch this video, that you watch their videos. Their links will be down below here in the video or up on the side. But anyway, I'm going to do this painting in watercolor. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the scenes that or the photos that I had. The one photo that I decided to use is this one sort of on an oblique angle. And I have had several other photos that I took that showed me some other scenes, some postcards I saw when I was over there that gave me some insight into what this might have looked like back in the day. It was built in the 1800s and early 18th century, which was the 1700s. And so it's an interesting schoolhouse. It's made out of wood and cedar. The interior has been all refurbished. They have animation in there with a school teacher and some students sitting around, and it's quite an interesting thing to see inside. The outside looks kind of rough, of course, and they've done some maintenance to it, but not a lot. They've kept the original structure, and the outside looks kind of dull and boring. So I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit in my composition, add some flowers, maybe flower baskets in the windows and things like that to sort of brighten it up. But that's our artistic license. Each artist is certainly allowed to do what they want with the photos, but at least try to keep the scene the same for everyone to watch. So who are our collaborators? If you've watched me before, you know that we have a couple folks from the UK, Clive Powell and Jason Bowen, both of the UK. They will be doing this painting, and we have one other from the United States, Brandon Schaefer Art, and he will be doing this painting. So the 4 of us just challenge each other every month, and so we hope that you like this. We hope you like seeing the different compositions and the different approaches that we take to doing the painting, whether it's in oils, acrylics, or watercolors. So with that said, I want to tell you what I'm painting on today. I have already completed my sketch. The sketch will be available on my website if you want to paint along. You see at the top of my easel I have the photograph here, the original photograph I took. I've cropped it down. I've made it fit 11 by 14 page and or paper, and it's a grid. The grid is 5 by 4, so you can actually do a five-way split and 4 horizontal, and copy this from the sketch. I also have on the top right a value map, I call it. Basically, it's a set of values that I want to try to come across in this painting. At least I want to try to help you see that and use that as my guiding principle. Let me get my camera set here, and I think you can see the entire thing. So with that said, let me also cover the paints. I do have my easel here, my palette here from Sterling Edwards, and I have a set of his brushes. I have some bristle brushes that I use here, set of 3 brushes. I have a 1-inch flat, a 1/2-inch flat. I have a number 12 round, number 8 round, number 4 round, and I have a script liner. Excuse me, my voice is going away already. So I may not use all those brushes, but I have those available. I will also go around the palette now and give you the list of paints that I always have in my standard watercolor palette. I may not use all those either, but I will certainly tell you what they are. We have here neutral tint. We have cyan blue, we have ultramarine blue, ultramarine violet, crimson lake, garnet lake, cadmium red, burnt sienna, raw sienna, and yellow ochre. I have cupric green, golden lake, limon yellow, and primary yellow. Inside row I have burnt umber, I have sap green, Auvergne orange, primary red magenta, and still-to-grain brown. So if you follow me before, you know those are the paints that I use in my watercolors, and there's no change. It's just a matter of which ones I use, how many I use, and that sort of thing. So with that said, let's get this thing going and see if we can do justice to this composition. I should tell you also that I'm painting on Fabriano Artistico 300-pound watercolor paper. The size I mentioned earlier is 11 by 14, and I have my sketch already done, so I have somewhere to start. I'm going to just get some clear water here and begin softening the top here with around the top of this schoolhouse. I want to get some soft sky in here, sky and some trees. Paint around these things. There's a nice little flag here that I'd like to preserve if I can keep the paint from the trees off of it. So we'll just kind of wet this in and let it set for a few seconds and kind of get soaked in. There's another little house back here in the back. You can see a little bit in the picture. And there's a big old anchor setting right here that they have some chains on and draped them across the top of this building, which I'm sure that's not original stuff. I don't know where that came from, and I'm not too interested in painting that, so I'm going to probably leave that out. But nevertheless, it's there, and if I want to paint it in, I can. All right, let's go. Let's see if we can put a little sky in here. I'm going to just pick up some cyan blue and put a little light wash of cyan blue in my sky here. Touch the building with it and let it run. You also notice I'm painting vertically. Many watercolor painters don't do this. There are a few that will paint in a vertical format like this. I do it to simplify my recording for the video, and I don't have to have a lot of extra infrastructure. I have set up a small camera overhead finally. I got some infrastructure to help me do that. Adding a little crimson lake to this to sort of add a little bit of red to it. Over here we'll put in some, I don't want it to run down too much. Connect. Over here I'll paint around this flag. I want to make sure I leave room around this flag. So I have to do, you've heard me say what it is, we're doing negative painting. Sounds negative, but it's basically a way to paint around things in watercolor that you want to leave out, or you want to, I'm getting some overrun here. I can always blot that out. Okay. Too much red there. Let me pick up just a little crimson. So I'll come back and there'll be some trees and branches and limbs and stuff over that. This is about ready to run, so let's get rid of him. All right, something like that. So I have some variation in color, a little darker blue over here coming to lighter, even fading into some, excuse me, alizarin crimson lake. Maybe I'll put just a touch of that red down here. You're not going to be able to see this. Probably I'm going to paint over it, but let's put it in there and see. Use a dry brush. You can pick up this paint and give yourself clear paper. Okay. All right. Sky is done. If I keep going back in there, I will mess it up. I may plop in a few things that look like clouds to just give it a little bit of texture in there. And those will... That's about all I want to do. If I go back in with more water, more paint, I'm going to get some sort of a blossom, or some people call it a cauliflower or whatever. But so I'm just going to leave it like that. And as that dries off, I'll have a pretty crisp edge here. Have room for my flag. Let me see if I think I need to come a little closer here. Yeah, that's tree there. Okay, so the flag is there, and I left room for that so I can put some stripes in there and some other colors that, well, there's two flags actually on that flagpole. All right, let's go on. Next color, I'm going to use some ultramarine blue and pick up some burnt sienna. And when I do that, I'm going to get an interesting gray. And I can have that gray to the brown side, which you see, brownish red side, or I can have it to sort of a bluish color. And if you just see how the palette goes there, you can see just those two colors. I can vary anywhere in between there. So I'm going to start and see if I can get what this will look like. I have a 1-inch brush, and I am just painting this back wall here of this, or the roof of this back building. This back building really is not part of the schoolhouse, actually. Again, I have a little advanced knowledge since I was there. My other painting partners don't know some of this because they weren't there, but this is actually a bit of a gift shop, and it's where you have to pay your fee to go inside the schoolhouse to see the animated presentation and so forth. So I will just show it here and not much more than that. Oops, I got a piece of the roof that I didn't get right here. See if I can get that in. Need room for that flagpole there. I want it to be sort of white or off-white. Okay. There we go. Might put a few other things just to give it some texture in there. That's good enough for that roof back there. We'll see what it looks like. If it looks too goofy, I'll fix it up. Okay, this other roof now, let's start a little more burnt sienna. And we'll start up here and see if we can get in peak of this roof. Actually has some little gray or white top on it up there. Now, I'm not trying to match these colors exactly, but I am trying to show you this is the color of this roof. All right, now I'm doing wet on dry paper. The only time I have wet on wet in this painting so far is up when I did the sky. So let's just pop that in and change the color a little bit. Don't want it to be a big block of one color. Add some gray, whatever's on my palette there. Okay, and we got the same thing going on over here on this side. Right here. Pick up a little more brown. fun challenge with a 1-inch flat brush. Okay, come back and see if we can get a little more here on this. This roof is slightly darker, more pronounced. Maybe I'll add a little bit of my burnt umber with that, darken it down just a little. I want to make it just show up from the other part of the roof, because this is the sliver of roof that covers this little extension up here on the upstairs. The upstairs, I was told when we listened to the descriptions here, that the school teacher would actually, and his wife lived upstairs in this, and it's very, very small. Stairway was very small, and but in the one photo I had, it looked like there was a person standing here. They had a little character up there that represented the school teacher's wife, and she was upstairs while he was downstairs teaching. So I'm just putting in some marks that give the impression. I'm not trying to paint every one of these wood shake roof tiles. I'm just sort of giving you the idea that it is a rough wood wood roof. All right, now we leave that. We'll let a little of that dry. I think I'll start coming down here on the front of this. This is a little more gray, so I'm going to pick up a little more of my ultra blue as we start down, and see what we can do with this here. There is a little board that sits in there that I want to come back and put in. I have a mixture of colors. I have my brown in here and I have my blue. Pick up more blue. Top of this window. Top of this door. Probably should get down to a smaller brush, but I'm just being stubborn right now. Trying to see how much I can do with this large brush. This is going to have a big shadow over it anyway, so I'm not too concerned about exact colors here. So I have some interesting blending going on in there. A few other colors here. Let's bring this down. Very carefully. Pick up a few other colors just to change it up. One thing that I try to subscribe to is the idea that I don't have any square as big as 2 inches on any of my paintings that have only one color in it, or only one bland surface that has nothing going on. I want to put some texture in it. I want to put some color change. I want to change the color temperature, something to break it up so that it's not just one flat color. It gives depth to the painting, it gives interest to the painting, and it's the artistic presentation that I'm trying for here. Okay, so I got that. I'll come back and get those windows, and we'll finish that off. I really don't like how this roof turned out over here. It looks pretty bad right now. So let's come back and put a few things over it like that. I kind of help that out. All right, I wonder if this is dry. A very, very dark shape here. It's all in shadow. And for that, I'm going to add to my mixture here a little bit of my neutral tint is the color. I don't think I told you, have told you before, but my paints are Italian transparent watercolors, Italian watercolors by My Mary Blue. Very beautiful transparent colors that if you can get by with just hitting one stroke on the paper, you really get a lot of luminescence and you get a lot of beauty coming through from the light shining through the paint to hit the paper to come back to your eye. So this is my shadow side. Got almost no brown in it. Let me put a few colors of brown in there, because it is really a wood, similar kind of wood, but so I want to have that color appear if I can. Dark in here. Time to get a smaller brush now that I get a smaller area to paint. I got my this is my 1/2 inch flat. So we'll pop in here. There's actually a little open window up here that kind of is hanging out at an angle. So we'll put that in. Okay. Over here on this other wall over here, I'll bring down some more of my dark colors. I do have a almost too wide for that. Okay. I want to pop in a few of the browns, pick up a little of my, it warms it up. You put that burnt sienna in there, it just sort of warms that up a little bit. That dark blue is really, or the neutral tint is very dark and cool. A quick layer over this. Painting with the corner. Okay. I do have a little bit of a shadow over here that's kind of going off the paper. It's another window in this other building, and I just noticed I got my hand down in my paper right there, and I think I even did it over here. I like to paint top to bottom, left to right if I can. It kind of keeps my hand out of the painting, but it's not always possible when I bounce back and forth. We'll let that dry and see if I can leave it alone for a little while. Maybe I'll put in a few boards here that sort of give me that. Again, I'm not putting in every board. I'm making this abstract enough so that the viewer can fill in the rest, which really gets people into your paintings. That's a nice technique to use. You don't want to paint, unless you're doing photorealistic paintings of any kind. I never want to put in everything you see. They certainly modify what I see from the photographs of any kind. All right, let's let that dry and work on this big surface over here. It's got a lot of combination of the colors that we've been using, of course. It's the same type of wood. I think I mentioned to you this is cedar and I forget the other wood type now that's used, but this is really all wood. Didn't see any nails or anything in it that was holding it together. There may be some for some of the repairs they've done, but when they built this thing, it was all wood plank. Let's just do this whole thing here. Still using one brush, except for a little bit of that half-inch flat I used over there. Now this, of all the shadows, this particular one here has to be the darkest. And there's a reason for that. There's actually a name for this. Shadow. This corner right here is called the shadow that you put there. It's called the change plane accent. That means when you go from a plane that looks like this to a plane that looks like this, and the sun is coming from this way, the surface where the sun, the plane goes out of the sun, that edge right there is the darkest part of the shadow. And as it moves, as the shadow moves further to the right, it gets more reflective light from other objects, and it gets lighter. It's not quite as dark, but in your paintings, if you're trying to do a building of any kind that's in the sun, and it has a corner like this at an oblique angle, which are the most pleasing types of paintings generally, I'm trying to leave room for some plants here, painting around them. I'll come back and pop those in a minute, but I got rocks going along here, and I have planters, and I have this dark surface here. All right, that's probably, could probably even be darker based on my value map, so I may come back and hit that again later if I don't forget. Which I do sometimes. Let's move over to the little roof of this little building. There's a big sign that sits on top here. And it says, "The oldest wood schoolhouse in the USA, St. Augustine, Florida." That's what that sign says. But you think I'm going to put all that printing in there? Not too likely. I'm going to leave it abstract. Okay, this little fence area here is a little lighter. I'm going to leave that for a moment. Let me see how we're doing on dry back here. Okay, these areas could probably be filled in now. Matter of fact, even this window up here is so dark, I'm going to just kind of go right over it, and we'll come back in and put some more dark in there to define that window. We have a lot of boards up here. Okay, let's don't get too crazy there. All right, that looks like an old building, and that's what I'm trying to convey. I think I got the perspective right. I got a good sketch out of this. Actually, I did the sketch on tracing paper, so I could erase it and correct it and get the angles right, and then I used the tracing paper with some transfer paper to actually transfer it onto the watercolor paper. So I did have to do the sketch a couple, 3 times to get it right, but once I had it on my paper that I could use as to transfer it, I left it alone. Okay, I think I'm going to go back to my smaller brush now, get this 1/4 inch flat. Start working on these doors and windows and doors back here. I haven't added hardly any colors to my palette. I'm still pretty much blue and brown. Let's see here, let's put in a few darker colors, add some blue, add some browns. We actually have a little shutters out here that sort of sit on the side. It looks like it might be too dark, but it will lighten up somewhat. The shutter on this side is similar width. Hope I'm not blocking your view. That we have this has a little bit of, ooh, picked up some yellow there, way more than I want. It has sort of starts getting a little bit of a, I don't know, what's has a sort of a greenish tint, sort of like a something that's got I don't know, mold on it, or not mold, but I don't know what you'd call it. It sort of turns it green. It's not necessarily a brown or gray color. It's got a little bit of green in it. So I just add a little yellow to my mixture there to sort of add some green. See this? Another still leaving room for little flower boxes. These weren't even in the photograph, but I'm going to put a couple flower boxes in there and throw in some flowers and see if that kind of brightens it up a little bit. I don't like a real gloomy painting, even though this probably in the day was not totally gloomy, but it certainly, if I were to paint it in the time that it was done, it probably would be a little more gloomy. I don't know. Back inset here, I'm going to just put in some light gray for this window setting here. Got a big shadow there I want to overlay in a minute. Same thing over here, even this is going to have a darker shadow. When this is all nice and dry, I'll come back and put a big swoop of a shadow over that. I'll need to dry it first. Okay, this door has a similar type things around it. Could be darker. My blue and my neutral tint give me the darks, and I get if I want to gray it down, I add some of my burnt sienna. Where was I here? this other side, we've got to okay, so that's that door. It's going to have a little bit of an inset and some shadows. We'll come back again and fine tune that, but right now I just want to sort of lighten it up a little bit in there. The door. Come back and we'll drop in some brown to sort of make it look more like a door, maybe. All right, let's let that set for a while. Dry a little bit. Up here I have similar types of things around this window. I'll see if I can do it without getting my hand in the painting. Just lighter wood, even here, put it in. Okay, that little window sticks out. It's not completely white, but for right now I'm going to leave it that way. Up in the top here, we have this chimney sitting here, sort of gray. Put a top on him up here. Needs to be darker. Come back and over here we just have sort of a shadow and a couple of other marks that show the the brickwork, blockwork, or whatever it is. All right, let that set for a while. Okay, I think we're getting some of what I wanted to get here. We've been painting for almost an hour, I guess, I want to say. And hopefully, come back and put some more dark in here. This needs to be darker. This it's almost too dark, but let me just dry brush some of it out. I get a little texture here. Okay. Flag, I'll leave it alone for now. Up here, let's look at this, sort of this eave area up here. I think this is drier, so I'll come back here and put in some touches of dark to help define this. It's not totally dry yet, but it's dry enough. I think I can get by with this. Hope so. And even on the front side, there's a little bit more. I'll come down and just put in some. All right, it helps define that front edge. This long area here is just sort of a grayish off. I don't know. Don't want it to stand out too strongly. It's too dark, but let's pull it down. There, I'll just leave it like that. It shows some rough texture down here. And Leave it like that. I think I need just a little more shadow under this. And there's not very big eaves on this building. It was built almost right out to the edge. We'll put a little eave there. I actually have this flower box up here. I'm going to pop in. I might as well put a little bit in there for him right now. And a little shadow side on that flower box. Other flower boxes are the same, really. These are in more shadow down here. This one is. That. This one has a dark shadow. And then a little lighter brown on the front. Okay. Look like they might be flower boxes. When I pop some colors in there and give some flowers, you'll know it's supposed to be a flower box, at least I hope. Figure that out. All right. I think before I put those trees in the back, I've got to put some dark trees in around this to sort of help bring that out. When I put some dark in behind this chimney, you'll see this all pop out. But before I do that, I'm going to get my round brush, number 8. I want to come in here and put in that red, put in some stripes in that flag. See if I can get a good red color here that represents the color. And see if I can do it without getting my hand on the painting. There's a couple of stripes that go this way, and then like that. And there's another flag that's got some sort of stripes on it here. Loosen it up a little bit. Maybe a little more water. Excuse me. Okay. All right, let's let that set for a minute. Haven't used my hairdryer yet. I'm going to have to get that thing out and dry this thing up. I think I'm getting too much overstepping here. Supposed to be painting around the stars up there in this one. But that's all I'm going to do right now. See if that looks like that. Maybe okay. All right, I think I'm going to stop and try to dry this. I'm getting too much, getting my hand in stuff, and I'm going to ruin it before I get done here. So let me get my dryer out, and I'm going to flip off my microphone so it doesn't blow your ears out. Okay, I should be back on line now. All right, let's go up here and see if I can. If you test a painting, you've heard me say this before probably, that want to see if it's dry, put the back of your hand on it, not the front. Try to keep from putting your fingers on the paper as much as possible. You don't want to transfer oils from your hand to the paper. So use the back. If it feels warm or like room temperature, it's probably dry. If it feels cold, it's still probably wet. Okay. Let's see. This area over here is a big area that sort of has a greenish gray fence in front of it. I'm going to pull some of this yellow that I had into my blue and see if I can get a color that maybe is closer to that fence color and just see what it looks like. That's reasonably close. I'm just going to paint the whole thing because I'm going to come back and put darker bushes and flowers over the top of it. So let's just throw it in, add some grays. Let's see, it goes down to about here. I want to put in around some things. Big. All right, that's too bad. Okay, stop with that. This little sign here is sort of a grayish color. It in. A little chimney back here on this, not chimney, but there's a chimney, but it's a roof. Another building back here like this. And it has a chimney sitting back there. All right. Now, making pretty good progress. I think it's time to work on some trees. Been putting that off. Pick up my yellows. I got two big yellows here, two big blues, ultramarine blue, lemon yellow. Ultramarine blue gives a very bright, summery looking tree. The primary yellow gives a little bit darker. And if I add in some of my ochre colors, like yellow ochre, I can actually start getting some olive colors in here. So what do I want to do? I want to put in some trees around here that have some a lot of lights and darks in them, mixing up the bringing in more blue gives me more dark. But let's make sure we don't paint over our flag. Okay. Leaving some holes. I'm going to come back and put some trunks in there. That sort of thing. A little dry brush hanging down here. Over on the other side, let's see if we can pop in the same type of paint around this flag. Okay, so then we'll just sort of and the top of the chimney, same idea. Paint around it. Put that dark in there and it just makes those things pop. Kind of came down on my roof there slightly. Okay, let's pop in a other colors, get some airiness. More darks. Here, same thing. Flagpole, it's here. Both sides of the flagpole have the same color, hopefully. And even in here, I'll leave a little bit of a okay. Have a lot of loose flat brush. Take the side of the brush and just sort of do that. You can get some very nice dry brush effects by just laying the brush on its side and just doing that. Down here, this same idea over here. Let's get it paint around these trunks, make sure we have some definition. So you can actually see the trunk of the tree there. I haven't painted the trunk yet, but it's there. Okay. All right. Take that off the top. Try to see abstract shapes everywhere. If I can find abstract shapes, that's what I want. That's the secret and beauty of painting. It's things that look like abstract shapes and no clones. Try to keep from duplicating shapes, and if you see a clone, try to get rid of it. All right, the other side is probably going to be just slightly lighter. I'm going to use my lemon yellow and try to do a similar type thing with the trees over in this area and try to paint around the tops of this. A little more yellow in there maybe. The brush and just push up flat side. Cool way to do it. Back in here we've got some darker mixing up the colors, light green, dark green, mid-tone green. Even some olive green. This 300-pound cold press paper, I think I told you it was cold press, allows for some very nice textured effects, rough. Between this little lot of stuff here to just fill in. A lot of green, a lot of yellow. Leaving a lot of gaps in here so I can put in some other more tree trunks and that sort of thing. Come down here and touch the top of this fence. Okay, if it needs a little more dark in some areas, come back with your either blue or neutral tint and start sculpting in the three-dimensionality of these things. The darkness, if you can get 3 values in your trees, you will start showing three-dimensionality. Step back, take a look, see how we're doing. Okay, looking pretty good. This is starting to look a little bit clone-ish where I have these points all sticking out the same. I'll try to change that. Okay, let's go get a little round brush and pick up some browns and see if we can stick in some either brown or gray tree trunks in here. Sort of help this tell you what's going on. There, it's kind of late to put some in over here, but let's stick a few in. Oh, we've got this big tree trunk to do over here anyway, so let's just do that. Combination of brown and gray. Maybe I'll make a little darker right here at the bottom where it touches. Looking like a tree. Should be just change the color up a little bit, add some. All right, that shows some trees going on over there. Could get my scraper out here and scrape in a few tree trunks, maybe, if I'm not too late. Over here we might have a tree trunk or two that I can scrape in. Something like that. Over here, maybe it's similar. Too late over here, actually, but where I've wet it, I can actually put in some scrapes by just using the side of a credit card. Helps, scrapes the paint out, makes it look like it's a lighter trunk. Too much of that looks contrived and boring, but a little bit of it's just right. Okay, where are we now? Those trees look pretty good. All right, let's, I got some more green. Maybe I'll just keep on this green stuff while I've got this green in my palette. I've got a bunch of greenery in here that I want to pop in. It's got similar colors. Try not to duplicate the colors completely, but pick up some more of my yellows. And in here we've got interesting little things going on. Using my round brush now and just sort of letting it lay in whatever will come off the brush. In here, picking up lemon yellow, kind of on the tip, and just sort of popping it in here where I can. These little things are neat. I've got a okay, something like that. Over here I've got another little bush right in here that's kind of sticking up. It's got some neat colors. I don't even think it's got any red in it, but I'm going to put a few little, mix some of that red with my green, and it starts turning gray. So that's what I want for these barrels. They're setting in some containers here. Needs to be redder. Something like that. These are like little clay pots of some sort sitting there. Just pop it in, put a few little water in there. And there's another pot right over here. Okay. The others are a little, not quite the same color, but all right, let's see if we can pop this guy in. We got a big old green bush sitting here. It's got some okay, something like that. Over here we got a big old fat leaf. A couple of them sitting in here. They're sort of not sure what they're in. They've got some sort of a thing going on. There's a big old bush in here. I'm going to make it probably more yellow than it actually is. So I'm putting more green in this than you might have thought we had. Thing doesn't have a, it's not in a container, it's sort of just a root ball sitting there, it looks like to me. So I'll just draw that way. And there's a container over here. I don't have to be this accurate, but this is sort of a focal point, I think, of this particular painting. As I get further over here, I'll get less and less descriptive and more abstract. A couple more containers. Okay. And they've got greenish stuff in them. It's a bit too dark, but could be in the shadow. Picked up some of that blue on my brush and really made it interesting. Okay, over here we'll show some of that, and then top, we'll come back and put in some of this yellow, bright yellow tops on there. It even turns a little orange up the top there. All right, I don't know what these things are. I don't even really care all that much, but I do want to show that. Now what's at the bottom here, we've got this this orange rock. It's I'm sure that's not rock from the 1700s, but it is a sort of a base for these things to kind of connect to. I'm just going to rough it in. Let it merge where it will. If it will. It's lighter than these pots around it. So it goes over the rocks. We've got all kind of rocks down here, so I'll just kind of finish that in like that. So I want it to be less distinct over here, which I think I've achieved. If you heard me talk before about the perimeters of your painting, you want to minimize the detail on the perimeters, maximize it around your focal point, and something like that. Okay, we are making good progress here. It's about all I've got for the greens. I think I'm going to clean my palette out and just sort of, there are some nice little things floating around in here that look Florida-esque. This little bulb of whatever it was is not showing up, but that's not. All right, let's just stop. I'll make it worse if I keep going. So I've got rocks down here. I got this little foreground section. I got shadows. I got some more details to put in, but I'm going to get rid of all of this green in here. It's time to switch back to my other colors. Leave that red. I'm probably going to want some of that red and orange here before we're done. Okay, here we go. Get the palette clean, pretty much clean, and let's take off again. All right, this area here, when I look at my value map, it's definitely not dark enough. So that is always a challenge for most painters to get their darks dark enough. I'm going to come in here first and pop in some dark in this window. Let that start drying a little bit before I put another glaze over it. These other windows down here, whoops, wrong brush. I want my flat, half-inch flat. In here, these windows actually have a bunch of bars over them. And same over here. Something like that. This area around this door needs to be much darker. Right here, there's a big shadow I want to highlight under this door jamb. It goes down and joins with the rest of this dark shadow that's going to be coming down this way. That's about the color of the shadow I want to put across here like that. It's going to be connected to the shadow over this. And connected to this dark shape. Just a slight. Okay, now you're starting to see it kind of come to life a little bit. You see the shadows start turning it into something. Take some of the edge off of that area. We do have another sort of a wood thing there. Get rid of that dark, or light rather. These are not dry. This is getting ready to run. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to make that darker up here. This shadow needs to be darker. My ultra blue and my there's a big dark shadow under this flower box. Connect those together. Okay. Helping that thing stand out, there's got to be a shadow under this flower box. Not in the photograph. But when I put that in, all of a sudden, that window and that flower box all stands out. There's a little shadow right here. It's too fat. So all these shadows help three-dimensionalize this thing. Here, I'll even make the shadow here, even though I'm probably going to come back over it and maybe wipe it out a little bit. At least maybe it'll be there. Okay. So now those things are starting to stand out. I didn't make that very... Okay. We even have shadows over here. This is still too wet to put them in, but I'm going to go up here where we've got some shadows in this little billboard that tells you what this thing is. Shadow in the back of this chimney. Getting too detailed now. I'm going to have to back off. All right, let's think a minute. All right, so this is starting to look pretty good. This area in front, I don't even know what color to make this, but I'm going to try something. There's a interesting color. Add some water and we'll just sort of blend this in here. It's just street that's getting some reflections from the sky, makes some blues in there. Okay, I got rocks, flowers, darker shadows, and maybe tone down the white in that flag just slightly, because it's not really perfectly white. Put in some, kind of lost my sky color back there. pop it in, get rid of some of these light whites. Okay, now that's not quite so bright. I want that flag. Flag should stand out. Your eye typically goes lightest light against the darkest dark, and this has got to be the darkest dark eventually, and your eye will pop around in here. Try to keep you in the painting if I can. Okay. How's that doing? All right, well, maybe we can work on some of these rocks down here. Let's put a few things in down here that sort of represent rocks. Darks and lights. Make them. This is another place to use our credit card. Lighten it up, put in some other lighter colors. Is that looking like rocks? I guess it might. Put the darks on the bottom and the lights on the top. And you grab a little piece of credit card. This might be too big. I got about 3 little pieces of credit card here that are different sizes, and you can kind of take a small piece and it's almost 2. You just sort of scrape it over while it's still wet. You'll start getting some of that rocky texture, which is really all I want. I'm not trying to paint a perfect batch of rocks down here. I'm trying to just show you that there are some rocks that delineate the walkway from the little planted bed back here. I just about forgot my shadows behind these guys. Pick up a little of this gray, or this burnt sienna. These things need to be connected to the ground. If they're not, they don't look right. So this is my way of connecting them back there. You don't want them glued on, you want them sitting down, connected. Okay. A few verticals in here. Again, I'm not painting every board and every shadow. All right, now I think this might be dry enough to come back. Part of this I'm just skipping around to try to avoid painting wet areas, so I have to watch myself I don't get too tangled up. Trying to keep this from getting too dried out before I get the shadow on it. This is sort of just a glaze. Come down over here again. Okay. All right, now is that looking more like the gray or the shadows that I want? I think it is. Let me get my round brush out. I'm going to pop in some flowers, yellows and reds and some greens. Probably make some greens out of this, but just in these areas here I want to pop in some things that look like flowers kind of hanging out here over this while this is dry. Some more red. Over here, I'll pop in some flowers. I don't know, maybe there's some blue ones in there for all I know. That, add a little blue to it, get a little greenish base in here somewhere. It's not green. Need some green, boys. I'm going to come over that, and that's going to get all blacked out by the shade anyway. By the shadow. Got rid of all my green. I should have kept a little of it. Watercolors, you can't paint on top of watercolors very well and make it show up like you can in oils and acrylics. You sort of have to paint around it or leave room for it or something while you're painting, because you just, unless you got something white behind it or something, it's hard to see. Put little yellow flowers up here in the top. Yeah, there we go. Probably not as bright as I'd like, but at least they sort of show you there's something going on here besides just boring schoolhouse. Get some more of this red in there. Where'd it go? There we go. Kind of echoing the colors in the flag, if you notice that. And a few of those in different places always help. Help the balance, help the harmony. All right, now, I'm thinking my little window up here just needs a little bit of downplay. It's almost too bright. I'm just gonna gray it down, maybe even that chimney this side. Okay, now I'm going to gray down my flag. That's too much. I'm going to run it. All right, that's good for that. Okay, so all I really want to do is put this rest of this big dark shadow here and a couple more spots of shadow. Let me do a quick drying of these flowers, make sure I don't blow those out of the water. Okay, should be back. We're almost done here, folks. A few more. Basically, I want to get this big shadow in, get my big 1-inch brush. Come back and get some of this dark bluish color right in here where I started this, I'm going to have a big old dark, dark, dark. Okay, so I pretty well blew out those flowers, but you have that nice, dark, distinct shadow. I think I'm going to put a few more darks in here, a little more glaze. Okay. All right, you can see that window back there. Might be able to see some just some marks to kind of indicate we've got boards going on back there. All right, folks. Have I missed anything? I didn't put any text in that text box. I think I'll just get my little number 4 round and see if I can put in some stuff that kind of makes you think I know what that says. Okay, that says the oldest wood schoolhouse in the United States, St. Augustine, Florida. Can you read it? Good. This little thing here is okay. What else? What else? I think I had a couple little dark blobs here of some shadow of some kind in this. Or here that were being reflected from something else. Something here like this. Just sort of break up the pattern here on the ground. Something like that. More shadows in between these rocks. All right, and then we do one last little beautiful thing here with some darks. Load up a big round brush and just sort of throw on some splatter. Getting them all over my outer board as well. Probably too much, but we will let it set for a minute and see how it looks. Over here, I'm going to darken this down just a little. All right, right, that sort of loosened it up, made it look a little looser, a little less tight, maybe you'd say. Last thing I always do is put in my old block print down here. Can't read that little N. All right, folks, I think. All right. I like the looks of that. I think that'll be my submission for our Collaborators Challenge number 3. And this will be scheduled to go live on July 31st. And so you won't be able to see it till then unless you have a private link. And nobody has a private link except the collaborators. So check out my friends' work and check out their videos and see how they did this painting. And let me know what you think. Give me some comments, and be sure to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye.